Hey, this is Tony Boss Bolin coming to you from the Lincoln Addict Podcast.
Hey, it's Jason ODB, the Lincoln Addict, hitting you with another episode of Lincoln Addict Podcast. I want to thank everyone for continuing to come back here and listen, whether you're on YouTube or the traditional podcast apps like Apple Podcasts, even Spotify, Pandora. I've continued to branch those out, hopefully to hit all the major platforms. If there's a platform that you notice that I'm not on, that you traditionally listen or consume podcasts on, just drop me a line at my email, lincolnaddictpodcast@gmail.com. Certainly appreciate, again, everyone coming back. Want to start this episode and just say kind of going to be Lincoln life updates is maybe the way I'll title this one. Just trying to keep the show going, but provide good content. So we'll go through the normal updates. I won't have a guest on this episode. I am actually working on, typically I'll storyboard these together, and I'm working on 2 or 3 episodes at once, trying to figure out who I want to have on, but then also sitting down with the person, getting the audio, and then kind of stitching it all together. So it's like a multi-part process. But Lincoln Addict Podcast, I want to thank our sponsors, including Devious Customs. I often talk about Devious Customs on this podcast, and many folks have went to devioususcustoms.com and purchased their parts. He may be known for the air suspension, but when you go to Lincoln, Shop Lincoln's rather, on the website, you're going to see everything from windshields, subwoofer boxes. If you're doing an LS swap, he's got parts for that entire kit, rather. Alternators, but he also has things like the billet switch panels that replace the pot metal where your window switches are typically at. And, he's got them for different years, including 64, 65, and I believe 68 through 69. So deviouscustomz.com, whether you're looking to customize or maybe restore and bring up to like a current standard, Jeff and team have the parts you need. Also want to thank Colorado Custom Wheels. We couldn't do what we do without the fine folks over at Colorado Custom. I mentioned many times, it's coloradocustom.com, no S. When you go to the website, you can go to one-offs. You can look at what they do. They also manufacture a Lincoln steering wheel and the replica wheels that mirror the hubcaps. Of course, they won't go flying off. That's a good thing. Hit up Michael and team, and they'll take care of you. Let them know that Lincoln Addict Podcast sent you. So, yeah, that's kind of it. This episode, I'll talk through the normal Lincoln updates, and I'll provide, just various updates, and then some things I want to hit back on that, I didn't get a chance to share last time. Speaking of last time, the last episode recap, I like to do these to reinforce if you're a new listener here, go back. There's 23, I believe, previous episodes. If you download Podbean, that app on whether it's an Android device or iPhone, iOS, you can download Podbean and you can go back easily and listen to all of those. They all do not live on YouTube because they were not, for some reason, batching over there. But the previous episode, I had a guy named Skip on. He goes by Skag. And on YouTube, you've heard me talk about it last episode, Skag's Garage. Very cool channel. I have really enjoyed watching the content. He has a 70s Lincoln, but don't get it twisted. He's constantly out there, and he's wrenching. He's doing great videos, and I really just enjoy the content. So if I'm working and I have an opportunity on another computer to pull up YouTube and I can have it playing over there, listening and watching, that's awesome to me. So I would suggest that you do it. We talked about a ton of different things, even outside of Lincoln's, and before we got to Lincoln's, again, we hit on a lot of topics. That's one thing I like about podcasting. It often allows for us to hit on similar hobbies that we have that may even be outside of the Lincoln talk. So, again, shout out to Skag, a.k.a. Skip, for coming on. Check out his content. He even has a video on there on how you can make money with your car, and I really loved how he did. I think it was 8 tips. He counted them down. He does different settings with his video, and man, he just does a great job. I know his wife helps as well, so tip of the cap, man. Now, the previous episode recap is brought to you by our fine family over at Steel Rubber. You'd have to be sleeping under a rock to not know that I really love this company, STEELE rubber.com, sealing solutions for the things that move you. When you go to their website, you can select the year. So, for instance, I'm going to select 1965. I'm going to select make. Model is automatic, Continental, and then you've got the convertible or sedan. I'll select convertible, and then boom, you're hit with 39 products for the 65 Lincoln Continental four-door convertible. The prices are all clearly listed, and what I suggest that you do is make a spreadsheet, copy that part number, copy that price, and start to get a feel for what you need for your car. Generally speaking, you don't need everything, okay, but there could be some different things like the accelerator lever to accelerator shaft seal, for instance, $60, right? That thing's usually kind of rotted out. That's where the rod comes through the firewall when you push down on the brake, or excuse me, the throttle, gas pedal, if you will. So there's something for pretty much every car out there, and I can tell you most cars need something. They even have the brake pedal pad. So some of this stuff you can just not find anywhere. We had steel rubber on earlier in this podcast in terms of, I forget what number it was, but go back and listen. Don't just take my word for it. Their products are on top, and they explain why you want to invest in these awesome products for your awesome car. So I kind of had mentioned, this episode, and really, if you've been a long-time listener, you kind of know that typically the way I like to do podcasts is, go through the normal updates. The truck podcast I produce and co-host, our lifestyle podcast, also known as OLP, that's pretty much the premise, right? We have our normal routine, and then we go into a guest. And again, on this episode, I won't have a guest. I want to try to keep it a little bit shorter, but give you guys something to listen to. Of course, I'll be covering things from the Lincoln community, which I call the LC, right? Wink, wink. Lincoln community, and that's all of us that make it up. It's the different groups, it's the different clubs, it's the different people. It really makes it go round. There's a lot of good people out there, and that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, because I want to highlight those people so we can network and keep these Lincolns on the road. So something new I wanted to hit on is a segment to just discuss, and this won't mean necessarily every episode, but our past guests, any updates that I have. And I do have an update on Pat Teahan. Pat has been on, I think he's the only guest that's been on maybe twice. Pat is such a great dude. He really supports and embraces kind of the Lincoln community. He's got a beautiful 64. Pat recently lost his father, and I wanted to send our condolences from Lincoln Addict Podcast. Goes out to Pat and his pops. I know he was really close with them, my understanding. And if you've lost a loved one or especially a parent, it's not easy. So keep Pat Teahan in your thoughts and prayers. Send him a message if you got him on Facebook or Instagram. I know he'll appreciate it. Let him know that you're thinking of him. And thanks so much to him. I mean, he helped spearhead the Champion radiators and other things. He has a YouTube channel with kind of shorter videos. Talking about some of the newer technology that he's using to help bring these cars up to kind of current standards with certain things like doing the pillar delete, right? So he's using newer technology to kind of tie into that. But Pat, most importantly, rest in peace to your pops. Okay, Mark Evans, we had him on. Mark is such a great guy, lives up in the Carolinas, and got a chance, believe it or not, today on the way home from work, got a chance to chat with him for a while, and he's doing great. The car's doing great. He did have, and I think I've hinted at this, he did have a hiccup with the car after he had gotten it back. Nothing that Lincoln Land did. They did a fantastic job, and he gave so much love to Chris and the team for all the stuff they did. The transmission did run into a snag, and again, that's not anything they rebuilt, but speaking of, Chris and team there, going above and beyond, Chris actually worked back with Mark to get him another transmission. That was a great transmission that had no issues, and that's since been installed in Mark's car, and he's been out putting miles on it locally on the interstate and just enjoying it with the top down. So that's another episode that you definitely want to hit on. Mark went through a lot to find a car that he really liked, It was kind of, quote, a real barn find. It was literally in a barn, and he's brought that thing, kind of resurrected it back. And I know Lincoln Land over in Clearwater are great friends. They've helped so many people over the years, and of course, they've helped Mark as well. So tip of the cap. Mark, good to catch up with you, and thanks for the support. Lastly, James from Detroit Deviant. James was our first guest on Lincoln Addict Podcast, and he can be found on Instagram, Detroit Deviant. He recently had announced he's running a sale on the steering box spacers. So that's, something we can go into depth in the future. But if you've got a 60s Lincoln, for the most part, you've got to replace the 3 steering box spacers. And the ones from the factory, they just go bad. They're nasty. And he's got a sale 20% off on those. If you go to his Instagram, Detroit Deviant, you'll see use code SPACER20 at DetroitDeviant.com. But most importantly, I wanted to mention James. I think he had posted, and it may have been some time ago, that he had went through some health things in his life, and he was kind of getting back to normal. And I loved hearing that he's doing okay. He's a really talented guy. He's one of the guys that I know out there that are doing coyote swaps in these cars, like pretty much with a blindfold on. Like, he's very, very talented, does high-end work, and he's actually in Florida. He, if you go on his website, he actually has kits for the coyote swaps, and he has all sorts of cool stuff. I know he's partnered up a little bit with Little Shop Manufacturing, but a great dude. And James, hope you're doing well. Got to link up soon again to get some updates from me, man. The past guest updates is brought to you by Griot's Garage. We had Nick from Griot's Garage on, and I'm happy to announce we partnered up with them just to kind of reinforce their amazing products. Their website, griotsgarage.com. Free shipping on orders over $69. The other awesome thing that they're doing is a lot of videos. So if you go on their Instagram, if you go on their YouTube channel, I tell you, in this day and age, it's awesome that we can learn so much just through videos. I'm a visual kind of guy, and I love seeing the methods that they use with their awesome products. I've often been kind of scared to go out and go, man, I don't know, I don't want to mess up my car. I'm still going to use this old school method of cleaning, when you realize that there's all these new products to make it so much easier. So I encourage you, if you're looking for something a little bit different, Griot's Garage has been around a long time. I know you've seen the logo. I know you've heard the name. Hit up their website, griotsgarage.com, or pick up the products in your local auto parts store. You will not be disappointed. I know I recently picked up the little duster that they sell, and that has been awesome because if there's a little bit light dust on my car, I can get it off pretty quick before I mist and wipe it and roll out. So thanks to Griot's Garage for the continued support. So my favorite segment, just Lincoln Life updates in general, just things that I'm seeing in the LC, which is the Lincoln community, and any other things that I wanted to share. So first off, I'm happy to announce we're finally here with our launch of our new product, which is Lincoln Addict Shirt. I have been asked for several years now, when are you going to drop a shirt? And I had my dear friend over at Asphalt Army, Tony Moore, great guy. He did some artwork for me that pretty much landed into a couple of stickers, but the main goal was always to launch a shirt. That was the original ask. So now you can go to LincolnAddict.com. I'm going to be building out the website. Right now you're going to see the sticker, 1 for $5, 2 for $7.50, and the shirt available. You can pick those up. Now the shirt is a pre-sale, so I want to just be very clear. The pre-sale is going to run from this Friday, May 20th, through the following Friday, and then through that weekend. So basically, from now, this Friday, May 20th, all the way through Memorial Day weekend. So go pick up a shirt if you can. I would appreciate it. And of course, once the pre-sale ends, I submit the order to Graphic Disorder, which is one of the best in the business when it comes to printing. Once those print and they ship to me, I will ship them out to you guys, and then you'll get a tracking number, and life is good. So it will be a few weeks, but like I said, I really appreciate the support. Often people will ask, hey, how can I support what you're doing? I don't do at this time Patreon or anything like that. I do the podcast, I do the social media stuff, and I do the YouTube stuff all on my own. And I certainly appreciate it if anybody wants to rock a shirt. And you can pick up the shirt on, like I said, on the website. Appreciate everyone's support. Okay, next, LCOC. They had a Western meet. And LCOC, for those that don't know, is the Lincoln Continental Owners Club. You can go to lcoc.org, and that's their main overarching website. You'll see on the main page they've got the highlights from the LCOC Western National Meet. And when you click on that, it'll take you over to the individual days. So they have like day 1, day 2, so on and so forth. It was pretty cool to see all of the cars that were out there for the Western meet. I know Chris Dunn made it out there. I think they even went by, I believe it was Mario's shop one day, the Lincoln boys, and they just had several days set aside for lunch and different, festivities. So it's pretty cool to see the LCOC standing strong, getting Lincoln Continental owners together, and I would encourage you to go out to lcoc.org. Also on Instagram, LCOC_Western. Pretty cool stuff. And again, I always love seeing the content that they post. They recently were also at the Lincoln Star Concept, which is a whole nother discussion, where Lincoln unveiled the Lincoln's Centennial celebration vehicle, which was a concept. Matthew McConaughey was there and looked pretty cool. So much more to come on that. Now, speaking of Mario, Lincoln boys, if anybody needs a 64 Lincoln Continental deck lid for a convertible, hit up eBay. Mario has one on there. I have said time and time again, these deck lids are not easy to find, especially if they're rust-free, and they are also not cheap. So if you need one, or you know someone that recently got a 64, or someone that has a 64 that is just roached out deck lid, look up Mario. He's got one, and he will take care of you. I know it's on eBay right now. All right, I think the last update that I want to share from a Lincoln Life's perspective is something that I found that I really enjoy doing, and others have said or expressed that they enjoy it, is YouTube videos. So I have always wanted to do more and more YouTube videos, and I've gotten into the groove of doing some of those using the GoPro that I have and some of the other audio and camera equipment. Recently, I kind of launched a new series on Lincoln Addict YouTube channel, and it ties into something that I enjoy doing. One is talking, two is Lincoln's, and what I've been doing is doing reviews of listings for Lincoln Continentals. So what does that mean? If someone posts their car for sale, so far I've mostly done eBay, I'll go through and via screen record, I will talk about said vehicle, okay? Talk about the photos, talk about what I'm seeing, talk about if the car is kind of priced right based upon what I'm seeing, and also giving tips for other people if they're going to eventually list their car. What type of photos should they post? What kind of angles should I have undercarriage? Things like that. So if you can, and you're listening to this podcast, do me a favor, go out to YouTube, type in Lincoln Addict, and hit subscribe. It helps me. Basically, I got to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm a little over halfway there, and I also have to get the watched minutes up. But that's kind of a goal that I have, and I'm going to continue growing that content there. And, of course, it's way more fun with others, so make sure you get out there. My main goal is to help people learn what to look for with these cars and avoid overpaying for what we like to sometimes call a basket case car. Okay, that's TC, our friend. She calls them a basket case, and I totally agree. There's some out there that are just a little too far gone, or a bigger project for someone that maybe doesn't want to get into that big of a project, or lipstick on a pig, someone trying to sell a car that maybe shouldn't be represented in the way that it's represented. So not necessarily calling people out, but I'm giving feedback on for what you should look for. Now, you may say, hey, I already have a Lincoln. I'm not looking for another one. That's smart, okay? But it's still entertaining, and I'll continue to bring the content as long as everyone enjoys it. I recently did, I think it was one of the last videos. I've done about 10 or 11 now. One of those was a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible that's literally possibly totaled out. And unfortunately, this gentleman had gotten in an accident about a month ago, just over a month ago. And he was in Texas, I believe, and someone slammed into him literally in the back of this car while he was at a stoplight and pushed him into like a guardrail and into another vehicle. And I mean, crumpled this thing up bad. And if you want to see the photos and you want to hear me kind of give an update on it, go to Lincoln Addict on YouTube and you can check it out. Thankfully, the most important thing with that guy was no one was hurt. Everyone was okay. And the car is now in a junkyard. So check it out. All right, next, Lincoln sales. So just kind of keeping with the theme of the recent episodes, of course, I was talking about cars I'm helping to sell, but really I've kind of transitioned it into maybe stuff I'm seeing or trends in general. And this kind of piggies back off what I said on the last episode. You know, sales are on the rise, as Tony and I like to say. I recently, have noticed again, something I reinforced last episode is the classic car market continues to go up and up and up, whether it's the truck market, cars, you name it. The prices are on the rise, like I said. My advice to anyone that's wanting one of these cars is go for it. Go out, again, check out Lincoln Addict on Facebook, the group, the Raddies, or Suicide Slabs. Again, all Facebook groups. There's other Facebook groups too. Lincoln Continental, 6169, all sorts of different groups. People are often throwing the towel in with their Lincolns. They might get to a certain age. They don't want to mess with it anymore. Maybe it's just too big of a project. They don't want to mess with it. It's, breaking down, blah, blah, blah. There's all sorts of reasons that people decide, you know what, Lincoln life just isn't for me. So whether they want something different or they're going to just throw the towel in, go out there, find your car, find your dream car, whether it's a sedan or convertible or coupe. Also, like I said, you can check out Lincoln Addict on YouTube, and I'm spending my own time to go through these videos and kind of give folks intel on what to look for these cars. And I've picked up a lot of good tips from Chris Dunn, John Cashman, Blair, Teresa, Kelly at Old Lincoln Parts. A lot of that stuff is kind of in my brain, and without giving too much information, I like to kind of give a highlight of what you're looking at. So again, there's those methods, and then also I do have Lincoln Continental sales on Instagram, which I forget if it batches. I don't think those go to Facebook yet. Kind of keeping it just to Instagram, but I will post cars. I know I've had people ask me about posting theirs, and I'm very particular on what I post. I want to see photos underneath the car. I want to make sure they're not rust buckets. I never want to promote anything that I wouldn't feel comfortable buying myself. So that's tough sometimes, but even though I charge a small fee to do a posting, which includes my time to do the write-up and post it and cross-promote it, I do really have a regimented process that I want to follow to make sure that the cars are not rust buckets. Although I'm not involved with the sale, it's more just promoting said person. Again, I want to always kind of err on the side of caution to make sure that anything I post or anything that I kind of refer someone to is a solid car. So check out Lincoln Continental Sales on Instagram. Check out Lincoln Addict Podcast on YouTube. All right, kind of winding down here again, shorter episode. People said, hey, we want the content. So I'm bringing you guys the content. I'm bringing you some knowledge, but I'm also kind of referring you over to other places like the YouTube where you can get more information. Next, we got Lincolns in the movies, TV shows, and music videos. And this one's pretty cool. People have told me the Twilight Zone, there's Lincolns out there. I recently noticed on Season 3, Episode 36, I think, there's a 61 Lincoln Continental convertible in the Twilight Zone. And I love seeing these cars in the old shows because if you look kind of at the set, some of this is probably filmed like on Universal backlots and Warner Brothers and stuff, but it just transforms me back into a different era. I just love it, especially when they're black and white. The cool thing about this car, and I'll have to post a photo of it, is I briefly had hinted that the trailer hitch option was an option, and it's very rare. And obviously, trailer hitches come on the rear of a car. In this one, it's a 61 Lincoln Continental convertible, and it has a trailer hitch on the front of the car. Okay, you don't see that every day. Now, obviously, this show or the series ran from 1959 to 1964, so more than likely they had outfitted it with that to kind of pull it on some sort of rig, depending on what TV show or film they were filming. But in this case, the screen grab that I have that I'll share, it has a trailer hitch on the front of the car. Probably not hard to install underneath that front cross member. They could have easily kind of mounted that there, but again, that was something that I noticed. I love, again, looking at these older movies and TV shows, kind of a time capsule of history. And when there's cars involved, especially Lincolns, my interest is totally piqued. So I'll cover more in the near future, Lincolns in the movies, TV shows, and music videos. All right, Smuggler's Blues updates by 64 Lincoln Continental. Well, the last episode wasn't too long ago, which means I don't have too many updates. I did drive the car some, put a couple miles on it. It was fun. Love driving it. Love turning up the music with the kick panels that my dear friend Paul Lane had built for me just over a year ago. I did recently put a video on Lincoln Addict YouTube channel that kind of highlights those if anybody's interested. Now, Paul does not make them for other people. He kind of did them as a favor for me, but it gives you an idea of what they look like and if you were looking to make some for yourself or have a friend help you. So I did put, again, a few miles on the car. I did also score some adjustable contour seats, a.k.a. bucket seats. So I have bucket seats for the car with the console. And eventually I'm going to do like a full interior in this car. The nicest part of it right now are the seats that I had gotten from Tony, because those seats were redone. The door panels are original. The carpet is original. And besides the seats, the nicest part really is the kick panels that Paul built. So eventually I have 4 extra door panels. Those will get done. The carpet will get redone. Full sound deadening inside the car, and the bucket seats will get redone with the pattern that I love that are on the seats now. Of course, the console will get redone, and it will have just a uniform, awesome look. The cool thing is, I'm not going to go crazy custom. It's really going to pay homage to the factory interior with a little bit of a twist, at least right now in my mind. So that's a little bit down the road. I've got plenty of other stuff, including airbagging the car and doing things to the car that I want to get done. I do have the Colorado custom wheels. I have the Devious Customs suspension. I have AccuAir, full AccuAir system that's going to go on, and I also have the universal air tank as well as the water trap. So I have all of that that's going to go on the car. Hopefully Jimmy's running customs. We'll get it installed here. He's been super busy, and I'm going to keep asking him until hopefully he can get it done. So I got my fingers crossed there. Project Smuggler's Blues will hopefully be on the rise very, very soon. All right, as I close it out, I want to give a huge shout out to this cool page on Instagram. It's actually called Cool Cars on PCH. For those that don't know, PCH is Pacific Coast Highway, and that's, of course, on the West Coast out in Cali. Cool Cars on PCH. The cool thing about them is they post a lot of different photos of just cars cruising down Pacific Coast Highway. So what a concept. I think some of these are sanctioned events and whatnot, but regardless, it is awesome to see the amount of the variety of vehicles. I love seeing the Lincolns that he's posted, and he recently had posted a video of a 59 Fairlane, and that car, I had reposted it. It was a Ford Galaxy, rather, and I had reposted it, and man, it had, last I checked, well over 300,000 views. Just a great amount of content that he posts, and I think the one he posted has 979,000 reels. So it is totally insane to me how much content people love. Now, of course, it's not a Lincoln. It's part of that kind of Lincoln family. But to me, to see the hardtop convertible and that thing with the deck lid open and how that goes in the trunk, that's a whole nother topic I want to explore in the future. I often get questions about the lineage between our Lincolns, the 60s Lincolns, and those hardtop convertibles from the 50s. So I want to kind of dive into that in the future. But cool cars on PCH. I mean, just an awesome page. I love seeing the content. I'm following him. I've got post notifications turned on, so I won't miss a thing. And I would suggest that you do that as well if you're on Instagram. Follow us, Lincoln Addict, and turn on post notifications. It's pretty easy to do once you click on the profile there. I always tell people, click on the profile. You got to follow, and then that same button where you follow, you can actually hit the drop down and you can turn on the post notification. So, man, with that being said, I guess just in closing, again, thank you to Devious Customs. Thank you to Colorado Customs, Steel Rubber, and Griot's Garage. 4 amazing companies, and I never thought that I would align with great folks like this, but it's a pleasure to be able to do Lincoln Addict Podcast. I'm going to keep the throttle down to the floorboard and really keep some more content coming here and on YouTube, and I certainly appreciate all the support from everyone. Thanks for the patience as well as I get this ramped up. Check out LincolnAddict.com, order a sticker, and hopefully a t-shirt, and I'll get those shipped out sometime in June to everyone. Appreciate the support. Stay on the rise. ODB, we out of here. Peace.